Well, good morning to you this morning. It's early here, well, 9 o'clock, not so early, I suppose. On the West Coast, it's noon. On the East Coast, either way, it's probably time for ice cream. So, this is the way this went down. Last week, we were having a conversation here, and I was just kind of brainstorming with myself, and I thought, gosh, you know what would be fun to do? It'd be fun to make coffee ice cream using our coffee. And with overwhelming support from those of you watching, we went forward with this. So I'm going to today create an ice cream. Now, I'll be right up front. You should know this is not a vegan ice cream, although we can do those too. And maybe if people clamor for it, we'll do a vegan version of this. Pretty easy to do. But today, we're going to do a full custard-style ice cream recipe. I will tell you that my ice cream maker has been one of the most valuable tools I've ever purchased. I got it for $40 at a yard sale, brand new. They had never even opened it. You'll often find them like that. Maybe people get them gifted and they never bother to use them, and so they give them away or they sell them. So if you see one, grab it, because it is awesome because you're able to do things like this. We're able to make ice cream using our coffee. So let's get started here. So you might remember, it's been a while since you've been in my kitchen, but when we first started doing these videos, this is where we started. We started just kind of doing them with our cameras in my kitchen, and then, of course, it spread out. Brendan started doing them out of the studio in Florida, and then we, of course, have Ben in the coffee workshop. Today, we're back in my kitchen, so I've set things back up in here. But let's talk a little bit about our ingredients that we're going to be using today. All right, so here we are. Okay, again, heavy cream, right? And it looks like we're coming in at just about 3 cups of heavy cream. And that's the primary ingredient in this, of course. We also have eggs to make the custard. So right off the bat here, I'm going to get that started warming up, the cream at least. And then we're going to use sugar. Now, I've decided to use 2 different types of sweetener in here. I'm going to be using brown sugar, right? Just about a little less than 2 cups. That's a lot of sugar. And then I'm going to be using a little of this lovely molasses here. And the reason I'm using those darker sugars is because, of course, with the coffee flavor, I think those will complement it really well. All right. We are going to be using, of course, coffee today as well. Now, today I'm going to be using the Burundi Gahahe, right? And the reason we have this, it's going to be in 2 different sessions, is because we're going to be doing the ice cream today. We're going to let it sit, and then we'll do the actual churning tomorrow. And the focus tomorrow will actually be the toppings for the ice cream, which are going to be using these tasting notes that are actually on the bag here, because I've been probably not enough light for you to see those. But yeah, the tasting notes on the coffee are tangerine, apricot, and hibiscus. So I'm going to be making some toppings for that tomorrow. So that's our dairy, our eggs, and our sweetener, and our coffee. Those are the components that are going into this today. So let's go ahead and get the cream started and add the sweetener. So we'll turn on our heat over here. Get it warm really quick. And boy, that's a lot of heavy cream for sure. All right. So there'll be a lot of stirring today, just to let you know that, right? We have a lot of stirring going on. Such I should probably have my... Okay. All right. And then I'll go ahead and put the sweetener right in right off the bat because it needs to actually melt. Molasses. Yeah, listen. The great thing about having your own ice cream maker is that you can just go for it whole hog here with all sorts of sweeteners, and have that experience. or you can actually use alternative milks. You can use alternative sweeteners. Sometimes we use monk fruit as a sweetener because it has like 0 calories. So that's the kind of the freedom of having your own ice cream maker, that you get to choose your ingredients, right? So something I've learned as I've made ice cream is that there is a relationship between the amount of sweetener you use and the lack of, and I'm sure there's like a cooking term for it, I don't know what it is, but the plasticity, actually changes. And that means like when it freezes, it doesn't just become a block, right? It's actually more able to be scooped, right? Like there's also ways you can use like other thickening agents, gels, maybe cornstarch. I've heard different agars, but I just like just using more sugar. Just getting really clear with that relationship. And I found that the alternative sugars also can provide some of that that texture help that we're looking for. Okay, so let's move these things out of the way. As that warms up, the next thing that we want to do is we're actually going to we're going to work on these eggs. So this is if you've never done this before, it's really easy to do. This is just a separation of eggs, right? So you've of course washed your hands. I should take off my rings. And the process for separating eggs is there's tools you can use to do it. You can also do it kind of the fast way, right? So I'm going to take the eggs out of here because I need to have 2 containers, one for the egg whites and one for the egg yolks. Okay? Whenever I crack an egg, I crack it onto a flat surface so that egg shells don't puncture up into the inside of the egg. Now, the trick with this is, sometimes the yolk might break a little bit, so I'll try and be gentle. If that happens, you'll see me kind of try to remedy it, and then if I need to, I'll grab another egg from the fridge. Just a matter of tossing it from hand to hand and letting the whites kind of slip through your fingers. Right? And I try to pinch that little piece off there, right? So you try to get all the white elements out. And just turn it back and forth. Okay? That's pretty cool. And burn through these. Now, we're going to save these whites because, as I'm sure a lot of you know, you can use egg whites for all sorts of fun things in your kitchen. I'm probably going to make a baked Alaska with this ice cream. So I'll need egg whites for that. And if you don't know what baked Alaska is, you didn't do home ec, what was called home economics back in my day, which is the first place where I really fell in love with. Second place, actually. First place was my grandmother's kitchen. But then doing my home economics classes, I just fell in love with working in the kitchen. So. And this is, takes a little practice. And you'll notice that there might be difference in this, I've noticed that this egg white here is holding together pretty strong. So you just have to be a little more violent with it, I guess. I don't know what the proper term is there. So the thing is that we want these eggs, and we just want the yolks. We don't want the whites. So see, there's a yolk that's broken. See? But we can still work with it. Just have to be a little more careful. And just pull it into the palm and then let it scoot forward. There we go. So one issue that does, which is unfortunate, is that when you have egg yolks in the white, that can compromise their ability to do what you want them to do as far as stiffening and making meringues. So I'll fish those out at a separate time. We're going to break this up a little bit. And then here is a key step before we add these into our cream and sugar mixture, is that we want to temper them a little bit. So that means we're going to take just a spoonful of this hot cream mixture, pour it down the side of the cup. Okay. Just like that. Maybe 3. We'll do 3. So make sure. All right. So now mix it in. And what that's doing is it's warming those egg yolks up a little bit, so that when they come into this hot cream, which is what we're going to do now, they don't begin to cook. And this is where a lot of the vigorous stirring occurs. And kind of pour slow. And so what we're doing now is we're creating a custard. I've reduced the heat on this because it got up to a good temperature, and that temperature helped, along with a little agitation, helped melt the sugars into the cream. And I've lowered the temperature to incorporate these eggs, which we tempered just a second ago, and give a lot of stirring there to integrate those egg yolks throughout the mixture. Okay. All right. And now we do want to raise the temperature up a little bit now because we're going to work on creating this custard. And what we have to do in that case is we want to allow the egg yolks, which have now been incorporated into cream, to actually begin cooking, and for those proteins to change, to begin to bind up, which creates a thickness, a quality in the cream. Now, the heavy cream is already pretty thick if you saw me pour it out, right? But with the addition of the eggs, not only are we adding the lovely quality of eggs, fattiness and deliciousness of the egg yolks and the proteins there, but in creating the custard, it's going to change the texture even further of the cream. And it really does affect the outcome of the ice cream when you put it into the churn. So this is the point where I get to talk a little bit about our coffee as we just kind of wait for this to heat up and thicken a little bit. So we are featuring, of course, our Burundi Gahahe. And we'll put this over here so you can see it. There we are. So, there's the Burundi Gahahe. Center that a little bit more up. There we are. I featured this coffee. It's actually, I was talking about this coffee when kind of, brain, more sugars. It's Danielle. Okay. More sugar, yes. Can I say, sugar is what gives it. It's the mouthfeel I want, right? It's just the mouthfeel. Trust me, Danielle. I tried on different diet kicks that we've been on as a family. I'm using less and less. And listen, flavored heavy cream that's frozen is going to taste good. When I make whipped cream, like, when I whip fresh cream at home for whatever reason, just to put on desserts or on waffles or something, I often don't sweeten it because it's heavy cream and it tastes good in and of itself. So I've definitely tried less sugar variants and alternative sugars that did not really help with that texture. And I don't know, man. It didn't do what I wanted it to do. And I just, and again, I'm not going to complain too much. What I had was a frozen, tasty custard that just, I had to like chisel out with my spoon, and you let it sit for a little bit and it slightly melts and it's fine. But I talked with a bunch of folks, and they all just kind of agreed, and looking up online, I found it was really the sugar component that was the most easily used thing that would allow me to help with that, the way it froze and the way its consistency after freezing. So, yep, more sugar for sure. This would be a good time to ask any questions. Our producers watching right now, and they're going to put a link in for the Burundi coffee. They can't put a link in for sugar or for heavy cream. You'll have to get, or eggs. You'll have to get those yourself. But you can definitely work with the coffee. So I did do used our Filtron to produce the standard extract that we use. So I made quite a bit, so I'm pretty happy now. I'll have this in the house for a while, and I do love the African coffees for making cold coffees. Often you hear about iced Africans. This, of course, is not an iced coffee. This is a ambient or cold brew coffee. It's sat for about 19 hours, just at room temperature here in the kitchen, and and I love the fruitiness of this coffee in particular. And that's part of why, it's what I was featuring when I started talking about making the ice cream, so I figured that made sense. But then also the next step, which is what we'll do tomorrow, focus a little bit on tomorrow, is actually the addition of toppings, right? So, and it's the toppings I think are going to be fun. We're going to take the flavor notes that we have for this coffee, those qualities that we find in the coffee, and we're going to create the toppings for the ice cream that match those. That's hibiscus and orange, tangerine technically, right? And then apricot. So I'm pretty excited about that. So we're going to move to our next stage here, which is now, this is something that you could modify depending on how you're making your ice cream. I try to, we're doing this a little bit early today, right, in the morning. I actually often will start the ice cream in the morning because I want it to spend time cooling down before it goes into the churn. But you can do a speed chill on it. We're going to do a modified version of that just to show you what it's like. So in that case, what you would want to have is you would want to have 2 bowls. In this case, we have a large bowl with water and then a smaller bowl that goes into it, right? And this is just a way to cool the ice cream down, or the custard down. I think it has a nice consistency. Right? Look at the spoon. See what happens with the spoon. Now, this is the point in which I'm going to actually incorporate our coffee. I don't have much, right? Remember, this is a concentrate. So, there it is. That's all I'm going to do. Okay. Has that nice color from the molasses as well. And then this is the additional step. If I were really trying to get this down cold, I would place ice into this bath. If you put your hand in here, you can already feel the equilibrium coming into place, right? The heat of the custard is transferring through the metal bowl into the water, warming the water up and helping to cool the custard more rapidly. But you have to keep stirring it to keep applying its surface area to the inside of this steel bowl. And as you stir it more, you'll feel the water get warmer out here. And if you, of course, put it in an ice bath, then it cools relatively quickly. So you can have this churning within, from beginning the process of making the custard to getting it into the ice cream churn, 25 minutes, right? But we're going to, of course, wait until tomorrow to do the churning. So I'll let it cool kind of naturally in the fridge. Okay, we've added our coffee concentrate. Now, a lot of recipes, when you look up coffee ice cream, they, of course, are using instant coffee. So all we've done is we've actually decided to use our own concentrate in this coffee experiment. Here's another thing I'm going to be using, which I looked up. I found a few recipes that actually had it, but doing it very sparingly. But I decided to, just because I want the variation for color, I'm going to be using some of the actual Gahahe coffee here. I'm going to grind it, but I'm going to grind it super, super fine, right? And I'm going to incorporate that into the custard. So hold your ears tight here. And that's pretty fine. Yep. All right, so I'm just going to that's all. Really want it to be a light treatment on that. And we'll go ahead and stir that in. And so this way it will just have nice little flecks when it gets scooped and served. And I think the sweetness and the heaviness of the custard, once it's churned, is going to mitigate any intensity or negative intensity qualities of the grounds themselves. They're pretty fine, and there's not that much. It's really more for an aesthetic quality. All right, so that is where we're going to stop. I'm going to take this custard now. I'm going to cover it. I'm going to poke holes into the plastic, and I'm going to put it in the refrigerator for it to hold and to get down to temperature. And then in the morning tomorrow, we'll put it in the churner. We'll let it churn up while we prepare toppings for it, and then I'll get to enjoy it. So don't take that the wrong way. I would want to remind everyone, if you see in the comments there, we've added in the gahahe. If you have not tried the Burundi, please do. And if you want to try making it iced, you can look back into our archives. We do have some great conversations about different ways to do both iced coffee and to do cold brew coffee as well. So if you have any questions, you can always ask those questions here as well. I have the producers, Brendan and Ben, watch me when I'm here, and I return the favor when they're doing their shows. So we're able to actually answer questions on the fly here. And I'm going to spin through here and see if we do have any questions. More sugar, yes. Coffee and ice cream, two of my favorite things. I think so too. Yes, I'm glad, Ken, that you're excited about that. I'm excited about it. All right, so tomorrow, toppings. And I'll save for you what I'm going to do. I have an idea, though. I think it's going to be pretty fun for the toppings for this homemade ice cream made with our Burundi Gahahe coffee. Until then, we'll see you. Take care. Thank you so much for joining us as we turn our homes into cafes and ice cream shops, I guess.